Everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Welcome you all to His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. So as I know that we finished the Damodar Leela on Wednesday, and I'm just seeking guidance from Maharaj. Last time when we finished, we were doing the Bhishma, passing away of Bhishma Maharaj in the presence of Lord Krishna. So I'm assuming, Maharaj, we are continuing on that pastime.
No, today is the disappearance day of Gorky Shordas Babaji Maharaj. Is it a controversy in America and where you are?
It's today, yeah, in UK as well.
Yeah, today is the disappearance day of Srila Gorky Shordas Babaji Maharaj. And we'll speak a little bit about that.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, thank you. Krishna. Do you want me to share something, or will we just?
I'll just speak something.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to leave my, I think my camera off because of my internet is not so good. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksuunlitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Smati Deve Kaulavani Pachari Nagurvise Sasini Yavari Asjati Deve Vanchakalpa through this cha, Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Gaurikishoraya Saksad Vairagya Moitaye Vipalamba Sambodhe Dambojayate Namaha. So in our disciplic succession, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, is Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Unlike the rest of the disciplic succession, he is more like a Bhajananandi. There are two aspects of our categories of Vaishnava culture. One is called Ghostanandi and one is called Bhajananandi. The Ghostanandis are those who preach Krishna consciousness. They practice and they also preach. The Bhajananandis, bhajan, refers to those who simply do their own bhajan and generally don't preach. They're usually great souls who are absorbed in their own love of God, or there are those who are just not inclined to the preaching process and simply practice spiritual life for their own advancement. Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, although he was in the mood of a Babaji, Bhajananandi, he still accepted one personality who was a great personality, has his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was a highly learned and erudite scholar in many categories, along with being a Paramahansa Vaishnava who came to do the work of spreading Krishna consciousness in the world after it had been lost for many years and then regenerated by his father, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj will read some verses here to give you a little indication of his mood. Yanyasyayam nava prema yasya milyati chetasi atharvanibir yapyasya mudra sustu sudur gamam. Even a most learned scholar cannot understand the activities and symptoms of an exalted personality whose heart love of God has awakened. And that is a statement that's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is also there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sinda, which we know it, Nectar of Devotion. The same impossibility of penetrating the thoughts and deeds of a fully liberated Vaishnava is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yanra Chitta Krishna Prema Karane Udoy Anna Vakakriya Mudra Vigyahana Bhujaya. Even the most learned man cannot understand the words, activities, and symptoms of a person situated in the love of God. And this is from Madhya Lila 23, verse number 39. We mentioned the two approaches, Bhajanananda and Ghostananda. The Bhajananis who achieve perfection generally do not step down to the Madhyama Arikari. They preach and they do not deliver the conditioned souls. Remaining immersed in service to Krishna on the platform by spontaneous devotion, they take note of the illusionary material world and those who inhabit it in the most perfunctory way. This is not due to a lack of compassion on their part, but rather their mood is determined by the inspiration they receive from Supersoul and the intensity of their humility that convinces them that they are too lacking in devotion to teach others spiritual life. So now by their natural humility, although they are so absorbed and so elevated, still one of the qualities of a person who is very advanced is that they never think that they're so advanced. In fact, they think they're the lowest of the low. The self-feelers Bhajanananda's thoughts are not always uttered by them in a material, intelligible manner. Their words and activities sometimes seem inscrutable and otherworldly. So this gives you a little understanding, a little bit about such a personality who's not this platform. They're very highly elevated, but still they cannot be understood by others, nor do they preach, because either they feel the material world is too contaminated and they don't want to be contaminated, and at the same time they also feel themselves very fallen. Here we get a little statement by Srila Prabhupada describes a letter by Srila Prabhupada to one disciple in 1967. To think of becoming a fool is the real qualification of a bona fide disciple. As soon as one thinks that he has become the wiser man than the spiritual master, one is surely doomed. We should remain everlastingly a fool before the spiritual master, not artificially, but feelingly, and then we can make real progress. Even my great spiritual master, a great scholar, remained a so-called fool before his spiritual master, who, this refers to Bhakti Gorkishore Das Babaji, who was outwardly an illiterate village fellow. In fact, Gorkishore Babaji couldn't even write his own name. So in the absolute world, the fool is also the master, and the master is also fool in reciprocal dealings. I'll read that again. So in the absolute world, the fool is also the master, and the master is also a fool in reciprocal dealings. Lord Chaitanya also accepted himself as a great fool before his spiritual master. And all of us must follow this transcendental process. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who was named Bimala Prasad at that time, approached Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj for initiation. And he was not giving initiation, but because his father, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, had told his son, Bimala Prasad, you must accept this personality as your spiritual master. He went, fell at the feet of Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and pleaded, I have set my mind upon you. I understand that one cannot reach the goal of human life without a bona fide spiritual master. And I can see no one who would be more qualified to become a spiritual master than you. Therefore, please accept me as your humble disciple. Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, I'm sorry, I do not accept disciples. And disappointed, Bhakti Siddhanta left. Of course, we referred to him as Bimala Prasad at the time. And so his father asked him what happened, Bhakti Vinod, and said, well, he has refused me. He doesn't accept disciples. Bhakti Vinod said, you must accept him, go back and beg at his lotus feet and try to get his mercy. He went again, and this time even in a more humble and more helpless way, pleading for initiation. And then Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, I will ask Lord Chaitanya to return after 3 days. So there was some hope. After 3 days, he came back. Then Coach Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj and said, did you ask Lord Chaitanya? And Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, oh, I forgot to ask him. You can imagine the disappointment. And Vimal Prasad left feeling very utterly despondent and rejected. But then Gorkishore Das Babaji did tell him, you come back and I will ask him again. So he went. After a couple of days, returned. His hopes were high. He said, did you ask Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He said, yes. What did he say? He didn't answer. That was the answer he received from his aspiring spiritual master. Feeling very despondent, he decided the goal of life is to become Krishna conscious, and without us, no one can reach that goal. Therefore, he decided to end his life. So he was heading towards one bridge. He was going to jump off the bridge. And just as he was approaching the bridge, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj came from the opposite direction, walking. He said, I was just testing you just to see how sincere you were. Therefore, I will accept you. And he received initiation in the year 1900, and he received the name Sri Varsanavi Devi Dayiti, Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita, Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita, which is the name for Srimati Radharani. So he gave him this Radharani's name. And that was his only disciple, was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. There is much information in one book called Two Beyond Reality. This was penned by my wonderful godbrother, senior godbrother, Rupa Vilas Prabhu, who is a great author. He also wrote a book on Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Haridas Thakur, and Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And recently he said he is doing the books over again of Bhakti Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, which haven't been released yet. So what he did about 10 years ago, he is really doubling, he told actually double the amount of information. He had done so much more research and found so much more information and evidence describing the life of Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj appeared in 1838 in the district of Faridapur, in a place of the village of Bhagyaya in East Bengal, which is now known as Bangladesh. He appeared in that village, which is situated on the Padma River. During his boyhood, his mother and father arranged an early marriage for him, and he remained a householder until he was 29 years old. While a householder, he worked as a broker in a grain business. But even that time, he exhibited his spirituality. His wife died at an early age, and he left his business, and then he went to Vrindavan. There he approached his spiritual master, Bhagavan Das Babaji, and received Paramahansa. He actually took the Paramahansa dress, which is the highest stage of renunciation. He lived under a tree in Brajamandala in the circle of Vrindavan. And for approximately 30 years, he lived in that way. After some time, he shifted to Navadvip area. And he lived at the bank of a river where there was an overturned boat, and he used to live underneath the boat. He would do his bhajan all day, mostly just chanting Hare Krishna. People had heard about this great renunciation and would come to see him. And sometimes people would be really inspired and they would like to become his disciple. And of course, he wasn't accepting any disciples. But one person said to him, I want to become your disciple. I'll do anything you ask me to do. This man was somewhat of a merchant who was living in Calcutta at the time. And he came, and he was very enthusiastic. But then Borgeshwar Das Babaji Maharaj said, all right, you give up all your business and you come and live like me here underneath this boat. And that was the last time we saw that disciple, or so-called disciple. So people sometimes get really enthusiastic about devotional service. Sometimes we see that on the initiation day of a person, where they're also enthusiastic to take initiation, eager to give their vows. But sometimes we see, after some time, as time changes, people's lives, they sometimes become less enthusiastic in their spiritual life, even reduce the amount of chanting, and sometimes no longer following the Four Regular Principles. Because the material energy will test anyone who gets initiated. That test is meant to strengthen your devotional service. Just like when you go to college, you have to take a test to enter college. You have to take the PSAT test in order to qualify. And so these tests are meant to strengthen your educational acumen. But in spiritual life, Maya is the testing agent just to see how serious we are, because she doesn't allow anybody to approach the Lord who is not serious. Maya keeps them away. So therefore Maya will test the devotee, and sometimes the tests become obstacles in the devotee's life, but they shouldn't, but actually they're opportunities for greater knowledge, greater surrender, and more dependence on the mercy of their spiritual master. In 1897, Bhaktivinoda Thakur set up the place where Gorkishore Das Babaji was living. That place now is called Swananda Sukhana Kunj. It's a place where previously Lord Nityananda performed kirtan there and lived there for a couple of years. It's interesting, I was just there about 2 weeks ago, and we were there with a group of devotees. Kishore Das Babaji was fixed in Krishna consciousness. One time when he would eat, sometimes, of course he would eat very little, sometimes people would bring him prasadam, so he would accept what they gave him. He would never make any effort to get his own food. If something came by way of Krishna's arrangement, he would eat, otherwise he wouldn't eat. So one day there was a great celebration in the area, and much food was available. So they came with this big plate of prashadam, and they gave it to Bhakti Gorky Short of Babaji. And there were many dogs in the area, so they also came around. So Gorky Short of Babaji distributed practically everything on the plate to the dogs and didn't eat anything for himself. Some of his assistants became annoyed, so later on they took the dogs and pushed them out of the area. When Gorky Shordas Babaji heard what they had done with the dogs, he said, because you have pushed the dogs away, I am no longer staying. Either you bring the dogs back or I go. And they brought the dogs back. He possessed only Tulsi beads, which he wore around his neck. He kept in his for counting. He also kept a few books, such as Narottam Das Thakur's Partana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Sometimes he wore torn cloth, and sometimes he went naked. Sometimes he would utter harsh sounds of disgust for no apparent reason. Even though it appeared that Gorky luminously, brilliantly shining within his character. And this became evident in him. He didn't like pretenders, cheaters, or deceitful people who pretended to be devotional, but in their heart, they were just looking for material gain. Because he was in direct contact with the super soul. This was not his principal virtue, because his exemplary the character was that he had deepest degree of he was in the mood of separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati writes about his spiritual master. Many young, clever, old, learned, foolish, proud, and reasonable persons came in contact with Gorkishore Prabhu, yet they could not realize his real identity. This is indeed the mystic opulence of the devotees of Lord Krishna. Many persons came to consult with Srila Gorkishore Prabhu about their insignificant material desires. And they would always get suggestions, but those suggestions were usually the cause of their disappointment. Innumerable persons accepted Babaji dress and act as the devotees of the Lord, but actually they were imposters, far from being real sadhus. Srila Gorky Shore never accepted his loving attitude such that even he dominated. Srila Gorky Shore Das Babaji never displayed any distaste for those persons who were mimical to him. He also never manifested any special affection for those very dear to him. He would often express himself saying, I am not inimical or overly affectionate to anyone. In this material world, I am alone in my service to Lord Krishna. Everyone is worshipable by me. Another noteworthy transcendental topic is that many materialistic, foolish persons masquerading as devotees and imitating poor devotion would come and surround him. They would consider that they were the dear objects of his while they engage their minds in so many worlds, display any intention of driving them away, and also no symptoms of any compromising attitude. Paramahansa is a sage who is a person who is above all rules and regulations. Paramahansa does not come into society because people may imitate them and they will also fall down. Therefore, they are aloof, just like Gorkishore Das Babaji. He was a Bhajananandi. Those who were atheists, envious, as soon as they heard that here is something going on, talking about God, they became immediately envious. We have increased the number of this kind of men. There is someone interested in God. They simply challenge, they're called dvisha or envious. So a person should avoid such persons. By the Paramahansa, he does not avoid, so there are so many things. So we have got to imitate. So we haven't got to imitate the activities of a Paramahansa's exalted position. They are very rare to be visible because they do not care to come into society. And there are many, many wonderful stories of Gorkishore Das Babaji. This book that will become released is about 228 pages on the life of Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. When it was seen that Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj's eyesight was deteriorating, Srila Saraswati Thakur requested him to go to Calcutta for treatment. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also repeatedly requested him to go there. But Srila Gorkishore would reply, I will never go to the illusionary universe, Calcutta. Once Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur informed Babaji Maharaj that his servant, Srila Saraswati Thakur, would stay with him in Calcutta, and thus Babaji Maharaj would not have to suffer any inconvenience upon this. Upon hearing this, Babaji Maharaj replied, I will never accept service from Prabhu, rather I shall die by drowning. If I drown myself in the Ganges, I will become a ghost. So I will drown myself in the Saraswati. Repeating this statement, Gorkishore and quickly left, running towards the Saraswati river, which flowed close to the entrance of Swananda Kunj. Srila Saraswati Thakur pursued him, trying to dissuade him, humbly and repeatedly requesting him to return. After this incident, he could not be found for 45 days. Then just as suddenly, he reappeared in Swananjakun and announced, I cannot achieve Sri Krishna by killing myself. Nevertheless, I cannot tolerate anyone serving me. Although requested hundreds of times to take some medication, Gorkishore never consented. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would say, my Guru Maharaj never accepted service from others. When someone came to serve him, he would curse that 14 generations of that person's family would be destroyed. He would tell him, you want me to become your servant in your next life. You will make me your servant to repay the debt. But I will only become the servant of those who are devotees of Krishna, no one else. Birth after birth, I do not wish to be servant of anyone apart from Shri Radharani Thakurani, because she does the maximum service to Krishna. He used to tell us, aspire only for things that are spiritual. Do not. He could not write anything. He was not a scholar. Tears would pour from his eyes and he would cry out loudly and take the names of Gauranga, Nityananda. He would pray that we should not bring disgrace to their name. Let us not desire such a useless trash as Dharma, Karta, Kama, Moksha from Gornitai. Many times he would ask, please tell me what is written in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. I do not understand Sanskrit. I don't even know how to write. We would reply, what can we say? In your very character, we are directly able to see whatever is written in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu writings, teachings, and in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kasi very rigidly, rejecting even water. On other days, he often ate dried, cracked rice soaked in water with chilies, and other times simply earth from the banks of the Ganges. His renunciation was genuine, however, but was symptomatic of his indifference to worldly existence and to give pleasure to the Supreme Lord. Clearly, Babaji Maharaj's neglect of his body and his level of indifference to worldly concerns can neither be understood nor followed by anyone. He found the idea of being served by anyone, including his own disciple, abhorrent. This mood and standard of vairagya is almost impossible to understand. However, to attempt to explain such indifference and renunciation for the understanding of someone of this age, such vairagya has been explained by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Bhagavan. And I'll read. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind and spirit. Impersonal spiritual difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. Is automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Hare Sanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction of a hungry man who has every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. Okay, so we'll stop there. There's just a few nuggets of nectar about the life of Gauri Das Babaji Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It was so nice listening about Gauri Das Babaji Maharaj's life, and how simple and renounced.
Open it up for questions and discussion.
We can't hear you, Maharaj. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Just open it up for discussion.
So I think Maharaj is asking for us to open up for the questions. So devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realization, anything you want to say about Gauri Das Maharaj, Babaji Maharaj, please unmute yourself. It will be nice to take a darshan. So if you can keep your cameras on as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, whoever is on the iPhone, I'm not sure. Please unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Maharaj, you say that the Maya Devi doesn't allow to go back to Godhead. She takes so many way to test. So Maharaj, how can we recognize she take test? Sometime, like a problems coming through the near and dear. So how we know this is Maya Devi take test?
You know. You go on with your devotional service, that's all. And whatever comes your way by devotional service, the arrangement, you accept as Krishna's mercy, that's all. If you accept it as Krishna's mercy and you continue with your devotional service, then you are accepting the test.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, this is a test and this is not a test. We're always being tested, every moment.
Yeah.
Some tests are obvious and some tests are not so obvious. But the idea is continue with the process of hearing and chanting and serving. Don't worry about whether it's a test or not. Just whatever comes your way in devotional service, accept it as Krishna's mercy. Work with it in such a way that you can continue with your devotional service in the proper mood. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you,
You try,
Maharaj.
you try to figure out what is a test and what is not a test, you'll be wasting your time.
Yeah. Mm. Maharaj, one other question. Say ki like you hear about Lord Krishna every moment. So Maharaj, like we hearing by through chanting, or like we know the hearing also lecture, Bhagavatam reading. This also hearing.
Yeah. Hearing is hearing. Reading is hearing. When you chant, you're hearing.
Yeah.
Hearing comes in different forms. Hearing is something that we are constantly in association when we're with other people who are talking and we're hearing from them. We're always hearing. When we go to the market, we ask, what is the price of this? We hear the answer.
Mm.
We're always.
We can't hear Maharaj now.
I think he
Yeah.
paused. He paused, Your Maharaj.
Just keep hearing. That's all. Reading is hearing. Chanting, hearing. Hearing from the spiritual master. All part of the same process. Shravanam.
Mm.
Just keep hearing it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
If you hear mundane sound vibrations, the mind becomes material or disturbed. When we hear about Krishna, devotional service, the mind becomes purified and elevated.
Thank you, Maharaj. Your answer. By your mercy, you'll be able to do it in my life.
Yeah, this hearing is way to Krishna.
Thank you. Thank
More-
you,
Thank
Mataji.
you. Thank
The
you.
more you become Krishna. Thank you.
Yes, Raj Prabhu, you want to go ahead?
Raj,
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you and all of the Vaishnavas. I wonder if you could explain a little about how did Golda Kishore Das Babaji come about to actually be in this world? And who was he? Where did he come from? What is there anything that you can explain about that?
well, you have to read the book. It might be in there somewhere.
Okay.
But usually all the, we have the understanding of the acharyas. They give their istadev, or they give their what they call siddha pranali, or their internal mood. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was, I forgot who he was. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was Kamala Manjari. So we hear of many, not all the great souls actually revealed who they were in the spiritual world. Some did and some didn't. Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada didn't do that. So it may be in the book. I'd have to read the book.
Okay, is the book available?
The first edition came out 10 years ago. The
Okay,
second edition is still in the process of being released. The second edition is almost twice as big as the first edition.
okay. Thank you.
So it's called Two Beyond Duality.
Beyond
Duality.
duality.
Two Beyond Duality. That refers to Gorky Short as Babaji Maharaj. TWO. Yeah. Two Beyond Duality. And it refers to Gorky Short as Babaji Maharaj. And it refers to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And so the book contains the lives of both of these great personalities.
Sounds like a wonderful book.
Yeah. I read the original release, and by the grace of my senior godbrother, Rupa Vilas, he's given me an advance copy of his upcoming book. So I can see there's much more in it. It's not in print, but he told me not to release it to anyone until it actually comes out. So,
Mhm.
so I'm reading it bits and pieces here and there.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Read the book.
I might wait until the new edition comes out.
He's right in your area. He's from London, Rupa Vilas. You can contact him and find out what the situation is. And ask him to put you on his mailing list. His name is Rupa Vilas.
Yes, I
Lives
think
in
he
London.
gave class in the manor once.
Sri Devi.
Please accept my humble obeisances, dear Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Guru Parampara. All glories to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, of course, as you have clearly delineated for us, is a personality come from the spiritual world. And when we hear the pastimes of this great soul, now, of course, we know and we understand that this is a very elevated personality. But when someone is actually in the present with such people, when they hear such caustic comments and such rebuking words and such, acidic language, how one can reconcile all this with a saintly personality? Generally, we have this impression saintly people are very serene, calm, compassionate, kind-hearted. Their words are very, soothing to the soul. But here you find Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is like a surgeon, cut. So how can people understand such saintly people when they talk and behave?
You can't understand them. Well, we read that at the very beginning. It says you can't understand them. You simply have to accept that they're exalted. That's all. It says even the most learned person cannot understand the activities and the words of such personality.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, come to Srimad Bhagavatam class Sunday morning, temple, bring the diary.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for telling me.
I'll be giving class that day.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Guru
Shri
Maharaj. I'll bring it along.
Yay, Namrata.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. All glories to Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And all glories to you. All glories to the assembled devotees. So, these elevated personalities, of course, we can't imitate them. They are like a renunciation personified. But as devotees, how much we should give importance to our health when it comes to devotional service. I mean, when we are balancing devotional service and the material life.
Did you read my daily drops I said just yesterday?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
What did it say?
Keep very good health and work very hard in Krishna consciousness, using every minute in Krishna service.
That's Srila Prabhupada. He's given that formula. Keep your health, work hard. In other words, work consistent. That's what it means to work hard. I mean, you have to go out there with a shovel and dig holes in the ground. It means work consistently.
Hmm.
Don't waste time. Your world is just a place of Maya, it's illusion. So you stay connected with Krishna by devotional service, you'll be above all of the effects of the material energy. Devotional service is on the transcendental platform. It's not affected by the three modes of material nature. We stay connected with the spiritual energy. We are in the best position to receive the mercy of the Lord. And we're from the effects of material energy. Devotional service is really easy, quite easy, very easy. Just fill your day up with service to Krishna. And you can't say, well, I don't have enough service. We all have service, just like today with Zikanis. So today was a recommended day for more chanting. So we can chant, that's service. You can read, that's service. You can do your artwork, that's service. Also serve service. Stay busy. As soon as you stop, the mind will say, oh, here where you can enjoy this, you can enjoy that. That means the mind is taken over and is directing you now. Don't let your mind direct you, you direct it. Keep your mind engaged in some activity, Krishna consciousness. Then devotional service is nice and it is free from anxiety. Don't waste time. That's all. It becomes very easy. That's all. That's the easy form. Every minute, think. Once you finish one service, have another one ready to go. Finish that one, have another one ready to go. Stay busy. And think how best you can serve also. If you're not sure how best you can serve, then you ask the spiritual master or someone on the same level as the spiritual master. If you're not sure, you can ask me when I come to Mumbai. I'm coming to Mumbai I'll be there Tuesday at the temple. Radha Gopinath temple on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So check with the devotees there, and they have made a schedule for some classes. You can come and bother me there. I don't mind getting.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. It was wonderful to hear that you're coming to Mumbai. I'll be able to meet you. So yes, it's definitely a wonderful news. Guru Maharaj, just a follow-up. So you said we should be continuously beaded with some or the other services. So regarding the health, I mean, I'm just asking because as we grow old, we see that our body, I mean, they go through certain issues, physical issues. So is it advisable that whatever you're facing, you don't choose that part of the service? Is it advisable?
Well,
You have to serve. You want to serve.
Yeah, so that's up to you. You have to see. You don't want to do something that will cause your health to go down. So there's so many services you can do. Choose. For you, you don't have any problems. Just keep doing art.
Yes, Pramaj. I'm just asking this because recently I am facing an issue which is due to one very old accident which I faced like 10, 12 years ago. And there's an issue with me. So maybe I'll discuss it when I meet you. So, but I was just concerned how much importance we should give to our health. Because in today's lecture, we heard God Shrotas Babaji when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he wanted to take him to check his eye vision.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. You have to see every spiritual great soul has a particular mood that they emphasize. Srila Prabhupada's mood for his disciples was to take care of health and work hard.
Yeah.
You won't find that other gurus may not have that mood. So as followers of Srila Prabhupada, he was interested in keeping us engaged in devotional service, and he knew that we should also be very conscious of how to stay engaged nicely by doing what is required to maintain our health so we can serve nicely. Prabhupada put some emphasis on that, but other gurus didn't, such as Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So you can't follow Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, you have to follow Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, got the point. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Namrata Mataji. Maharaj, I have a question. I wanted to ask that you mentioned about Goshta Nandis and Bhajana Nandis. And you also mentioned that Goshta Nandis were always, in their own bhajan to Krishna, and they did not preach. So sometimes it happens that, some of the devotees, they are like myself, I feel very shy when I've been asked to, give the lecture or anything like that, give a talk. And so this is not one of my skill to talk. So is it okay to not to preach? And like you can preach by distributing prasad or anything like that, but preaching as in, giving lectures and yeah, all those. So that's what I wanted to ask, Maharaj.
No, you're preaching, right? You're doing book distribution, right?
Yes, yeah.
So that's preaching.
Okay.
That's the best preaching.
Okay.
If you keep doing that, you'll go back to Godhead.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. I hope. I trust your words, Maharaj. Thank you, 100%. I hope Krishna will show the way.
Because Prabhupada put so much importance on distributing his books. Distribute Bhagavad Gita. That's the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaj. That answers. Yes, Scarlett Mataji has a question. Go on, Scarlett Mataji.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. It says, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you, Candramauli. I distribute all the time, but there has been time that they ask me question about what they have been reading in it, in the Bhagavad Gita. I distribute both Bhagavad Gita and Perfect Question, Perfect Answer, because I think it's very good combination. But anyway, it has been times that they called me and asked me, could you please give me some hour? Yes. Why? Yes, because I have some question about this and that. That happened yesterday. And I try to answer what I have learned, not more. Is it okay? Is that wrong? Should I say, no, I can't answer for that. You should go to temple and ask other people, because I'm just a beginner here. I'm not so advanced.
Become advanced.
I'm trying to read. I'm trying to do everything. But can I answer what I have been learning about it?
Well, just quote the scriptures, that's all. All the answers are in the book.
Yes. That was the way I answered. Is it okay?
It's very okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And that way you continue to do that, and then you'll become expert at the philosophy.
Thank you, Scarlett Mataji. Any other questions? So it looks like, Maharaj, there is no other question. So we can maybe end the call unless there is any announcement to be made.
Mataji, I want to ask.
Yes, please. Go on.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for this class, Guru Maharaj. I just want to ask you, can you speak a little bit about Bhishma Panchaka? Is starting today for all of us.
I don't know too much about it because I generally don't follow it, but many people here in Mayapur, where I am, they follow it. It's the 5 days and the last 5 days of
Kartik month.
Kartik. Yeah. I think you have to look it up online. I used somehow or other, my mind is not able to recall what the meaning is, Bhishma Panchaka. It has nothing to do with Bhishma being on the battlefield. I'm not sure of the actual reason behind it, but on these days, devotees just eat fruit or some roots. And here in Mayapur, they have one particular building where they serve out Bhishma Panchaka fruit and some roots twice a day. I'm sorry. I actually used to know, and somehow or other I'm not able to recall.
So my question is, Guru Maharaj, like, do we have to concentrate more on the fruits and roots, or even if you are doing a little bit of fasting, but can more concentration on more chanting and more reading, that is recommended? Like which one? So do we have to give more concentration on this fasting part, or roots and eating fruits only?
Well, if you start reducing your eating, you should also have more energy and time for chanting.
Mm.
That's more natural. Just like we all fasted this morning. Today was a fast day because of Gorkishore Babaji Maharaj's disappearance. So I took the opportunity to just chant one morning.
Okay.
It was nice. And I didn't have any desire to eat and just kept chanting. And I was able to finish all of my Ekadasi Vrata in the morning time. So yeah, if you fast, you'll have more energy for chanting. As long as you don't listen to your mind. Your mind the mind's a rascal. They will tell you, you need this, you need that, you need this, you need that. You're hungry, you're going to be weak, you're going to be tired, you better eat something. It's all nonsense. It's the mind. I'll listen to the mind. And, pick the proper time for fasting and do it. If you want to do Bhishma Panchaka, I think it's a good idea. A lot of devotees are doing it here. I'm surrounded doing it.
Yeah, I never did Guru Maharaj. This time I'm trying to do. Sorry, Guru Maharaj.
Look it up on the.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I saw a lot of posts. Yes, Guru Maharaj, I saw a lot of posts in Facebook and everywhere, in WhatsApp groups. Yeah, everybody are into it. So yeah, I was just wondering, like, why this name Bhishma Panchaka came, because Bhishma Dev didn't pass away or leave his body this time, but why that name came, I don't know exactly.
No, he didn't leave his body. He left his body around in the middle of January, Makara Sankranti.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
No, this is not the time he left his body. No. Okay.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Tomorrow will be available for class.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
I should be okay on Sunday. Monday I have to travel, so I won't be available for class on Monday. It's the